I'm starting to learn things about this new camera that I got, the Fujifilm XS20. I happen to like the camera. I think it fits my needs perfectly. It's not a full-frame camera, but I don't need a full-frame camera. You can do professional shoots using this camera if you don't have to crop in 500% to get the picture that you want. There's an advantage to full frame when you have to do that. This is a 4K camera. You can do 6K if you plug in an outboard memory card, such as a solid state hard drive or some such thing. But as a camera, it's pretty good. And I think a couple of key issues that need to be brought up deserves a very good talk about. Hello anyone, I'm Scott Payne. They call me the old farmer. I'm enjoying this Fujifilm XS20 camera. It's pretty much set up the way that I would set up a camera. And many of the things that I'm familiar with cameras, I could just turn on the camera and start going through and making the adjustments, and like setting the date, setting up how I want it to shoot photos, how I want it to shoot video. When I have it shoot photos, I have it shoot full frames in JPEG and also in RAW at the same time. Takes a second longer, but I like having them both ways. And having a 16:9 at 1080 is good enough for having a YouTube channel. I don't need to go 4K for a YouTube channel unless there's something very specific that I want to present. But some of the stuff that they have, the way that they label it, first of all, they have a leveling software in it. In other words, do you have your camera horizontally level, and is it straight vertical, and is it straight horizontally? It's a good feature in the camera. In fact, I've turned it on for my camera. But trying to figure out how to do it, they call it virtual horizontal. Any place else in the world, it's leveling in some way, screen level or camera level or some such thing along that line. It took me an hour and a half to figure out what the heck they called it. And then once I found out their terminology, which makes no sense, I was able to, within 15 seconds, figure out how to do it, and went over and turned on the feature. They said there would be a manual with this, a paper manual in the box. Took us 2 hours to figure out that we did not have a paper manual. We thought maybe it got mixed up with the shipping materials. So we went around and looked in all the places. Did it fall out while we were unpacking the camera? Things like that. So yes, a very long, strenuous effort for both Mrs. Old Farmer and myself, trying to figure out that we could not find the paper manual. Well, most people don't need a paper manual. I understand that. And they're using the excuse, well, we're saving the paper, saving some trees. And I understand that. But for me and many people, and you know that I have eye issues, that I qualify for Talking Book for the Blind because I can't read for a long time before I get extreme migraine headaches. So I qualify for Talking Book. But it's much easier for me to learn a feature if I use a magnifying glass and go through and read the paper version of it and then correspond it back to the tool or appliance or whatever it is that I'm learning. And I can go through and make notes. For example, if I turn off this leveling feature that helps me to find out whether I have the camera set level, I would notate it as screen leveling on the paper manual so that I don't have to try to remember their extremely unusual way of labeling the leveling feature. So I can go through and do that. I can sit down feature by feature, and it might only be one feature at a time, maybe for at the most 5 minutes, and I would be pushing it at that I would go through and read what I'm seeing on the camera and going over and playing with it to get familiar with that particular feature. These are the unusual things that you normally wouldn't find on a camera, but are special features on this Fuji camera. And there are things that I like. I mean, I'm saying I like what the camera is doing. I don't like the way they're labeling things. And I don't like it that they say there's going to be a paper manual inside, and there's not. So I called up Fujifilm because it's a part that did not come, that they said that would come with it. So I called the parts department on it and explained the situation. We don't deal with that. You have to email customer service. Well, transfer me over by phone. Can't do that. All you can do is email customer service. Well, it's easier for me to deal with the telephone, and because they were that way, I went back to Adorama where we got the camera. Now, the reason why I got the camera at Adorama was this. Normally I would go through Full Compass. They used to be in Chicago, now they're up in Wisconsin. In fact, I had my own rep at the company. It was Vicki Harper that was the representative that I dealt with. And I would call her up specifically and order stuff. And I started her out when she was brand new, and boy was she bad starting out. But she learned her craft, and she became one of their top salespeople and representatives. I was really impressed with how she became. But she retired out. I think she retired out maybe late 60s. So I remember her when she was a young lady, and I remember her when she was ready to retire. And she was a good lady that did a good job. So if for any reason Full Compass happens to be watching this video, remember along with me the good lady that Vicki Harper was. But they don't carry Fujifilm on a regular basis. It would be put on order. They'd order one in from there. B&H is another company. Well, they didn't have these cameras with the lens that I wanted. It would be on a back order. Adorama, and I have sent businesses to Adorama in the past. This is the first time we ordered anything from Adorama. But important businesses like the state of Michigan was looking for specific stuff that you can't bid out. It wouldn't work that way. So I looked up the stuff that they wanted, found that Adorama was the best place to get it at, and sent them to Adorama for ordering the equipment that they wanted. So I've sent a lot of business their way. Well, I thought I'd call up Adorama customer service. It's in Manila. Just about any person you get a hold of when you call in is out of the country. And I find that very frustrating, because if you're past the point of learning how to turn on the camera or the piece of equipment, these types of services have little value. extremely little value. And so it was another negative nick against Adorama. First of all, they said they had it in stock, and then we had to wait a week. It was the second shipment that came in. It wasn't a long delay, but they had to order it in. The person that we dealt with said that the last one he'll hold the last one for us. And then while we were in the process of going through everything, he said there were 5 more orders for the camera that came through after us, and they'd go on back order. Well, looks like we went on back order too, and that did not please me. If I knew it was going to be a back order, I would have gone through full compass and just waited, because I know those people, and they're good people. I'm not saying Adorama is bad people, but I'm starting to find out a lot of things that just kind of not dishonest. They're honesty. They're very honest people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything negative that way. But they make it look like, customer service. We really care about you. Yada, yada, yada. But unless you're buying something, you talk to people who can barely speak English. And I wanted to talk to them about, hey, I really need a paper manual. It's very frustrating for me to try to find something using either the Fujifilm site or the PDF site. If I had the paper manual, I could go through page by page, make notations as I go along. This is the first complicated piece of equipment that I did not get a manual with, a paper manual. And if they want to say, hey, we're trying to save trees, that's fine and dandy, but there are some of us who actually need to have the paper manual. And so by sending a request in, they should send one out. If you don't need it, fine. Some people don't, some people do. And maybe it's only 10%. But to have to take over 400 pages in the PDF and print that out, whether professionally through one of the paper places that will print things out for you, or on your own printer, that's about 200 pages, full-size pages. How do you shrink that down? Well, see, you shrink it down to, let's say, 0.8 type, and then I would use a magnifying glass to bring it up so that I could read it. I understand small print, but for me to be able to do that type of printing, it's very difficult for the average individual to do. Full page printing, no problem. But I don't want to carry around the Encyclopedia Britannica in my camera bag. And granted, I have a PDF on my phone, so that if I forget how to do something, I can bring it up on the PDF. I like the camera. I'm having fun with the camera. In fact, I'm shooting this with the camera. And it's very flexible, and you can do quite a few things with it. So I'm impressed with the technology. And I would recommend this to someone who doesn't want to buy a full-frame camera, that this is the camera to get. Does it have the fastest focus in town? No. But most people don't need the fastest focus in town. It's got good stabilization, what do they call it? ISIB or what, and stabilizing it so that the picture isn't jerky. It's good enough for just about everybody. Now, if you happen to be on a speedboat chasing a race, well, maybe it wouldn't be quite good enough. But for most of us, it would be good enough. And we would be very happy with the things that it does. So in the end, it's a good camera. But I am, in many ways, very, very frustrated.
Thank you for watching, and please be safe.
We'd sure appreciate it if you could subscribe and leave a comment. You know how YouTube behaves. They won't believe you watched a video unless you leave a comment. Also, it would help if you ring the bell and do a thumbs up. As you know, if I find a good channel, I pass it on to you. So if you think it's appropriate, it would sure help if you passed us on to your closest 10,000 friends and family. But above all, give a helping hand to someone today. It's the best gift to give. It'll make you feel good too.
Don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, or ring the bell buttons on the Original Old Farmer channel. We enjoy reading the comments that you leave, and they do help the channel, so keep them coming. And once again, thank you for watching The Original Old Farmer.
The VFW National Home for Children, providing families of veterans and active duty military opportunities for growth and development in a nurturing community. Please consider a donation to help their children and families. I.C. Rhodes speaking.